The cold temps and snow have arrived, but the 2026 market is not off to the same cold start we are experiencing here in central Indiana. Stay with me here for a few moments as I break down three main variables to look at for in this year's housing market in central Indiana. As always, I love to take a look backwards at the data in order to go forward, and in 2025 tells us quite the story of what is to come. Now, every year I have to disclose I do not have a crystal ball. No one does, unfortunately, and in any market prediction, guys, it's just that. It's a prediction. Most use sensationalist language and hunches, but I really try to use historical data and national economists as my main driver for helping gauge what may come our way. So, first things first, let's dig into what happened last year to give us a fresh preview of what I think this year will look like in central Indiana. So, as you can see here, we saw a modest increase in all main categories for 2025. The closed sales, which has slowed over the last few years and honestly has been a major misconception in the market highlighted by the media here recently, saw a modest 2% increase in 2025. Median sales price was at 5%, higher than the 1.2% national average. New listings were up 5% and inventory 20%, which is higher than the 9% national average. All of these key indicators point to a very healthy Indiana market in 2025, outpacing most of the national averages by a good amount. All right, now let's dig into these three main drivers to see what I think happens in 2026 and what that means for you as a homeowner, buyer, or seller of real estate here in central Indiana. First things first is the hot topic. Let's get to it. Interest rates. Last year we started the year as high as 7.25 and in almost a full point lower, which helped drive a late surge of purchasing at the end of 25. This roller coaster ride you can see here, guys, was heavily driven by political pressure and economic data that now has a trajectory on a hopefully more predictable path. Most national economists and real estate gurus predict rates to hover around 6% for the majority of the year. We may or may not see a Fed rate cut this year, but that's okay. As I've explained many times before, Fed rates and mortgage rates are not directly correlated. With rates continuing to show some slight downward trajectory, this will open up even more buying opportunities here in 2026. Now, I'm pretty in line with the gurus on this one, and I think that we will see rates around that 6% mark. If we see things get into the high fives, watch out. It could get busy. Sorry for the pun. All right, next, let's dig into inventory. This and the interest rate trajectory will have a big influence on the market this coming year, with more inventory coming every year due to more listings, and 2026 most likely no different. This will help buyers have more choices even when more demand hits the market this spring. Here in 2025, again, we saw 9 higher months of inventory than expected. Interestingly enough, we saw 58% of our listings above the $250,000 price point in the state of Indiana. This graph will only continue to skew higher or worse in 2026 as we gear up for my final set of data to look at, pricing. We're talking about pricing. A 6% year-over-year price appreciation for 25, well above national averages, was a big win for homeowners. As you can see, things have slowed from the pandemic years, but are still pacing at a great rate, even outpacing pre-pandemic levels in some cases. Continued low inventory and higher demand for the Indy metro market continue to drive this number above national averages. Now, 2026 will be no different in my book. I'm with these guys seeing a possible 3 to 4% increase in 2026 based on rates continuing to come down, driving even more demand to the market. However, a continual increase in inventory should shield us from the crazy price increases that we saw in 2020 to 2022. So, what does this all mean for you? I mean, all this data numbers I just threw at you. Well, as a homeowner in 26, you should be thrilled with another great year of return on your asset. We should see Indiana stay well above national averages and even above the typical 3% year-over-year rates we saw for years pre-pandemic. And as sellers, lower rates means more buyers entering the market, especially for existing homeowners who have been sitting on the sidelines over the past few years to make a move. And as a buyer, lower rates means more purchasing power, but does mean more competition. However, I think more inventory coming to the market still means you have time to think while making a decision on a home. Now, all of this is very neighborhood specific. So, if you are wanting more information about your specific goals for 2026 and beyond, guys, reach out. Love to grab a cup of coffee with you. Let's put a game plan together and talk about your goals. At the end of the day, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful 2026. You stay classy, Indianapolis. We'll see you later.